Well, happy Monday, everybody. I better put that up on the screen, right? Happy Monday. You can trust that day, and I'm so glad that you're here. And weather's starting to get here, you know. I know some of my friends who ride motorcycles are excited, as am I, and looking forward to a motorcycle season once again. So be wary of, and just be wary, be alert, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that motorcycles are on the road. 'Tis the season. And both ways, motorcycles need to respect the road, and everybody else respect the road. And just know that motorcycles are on there. Keep an extra eye out there. And of course, the kids are still running around outside there as well. Busy weekend for the Sarnia Sting. Friday, of course, they would win 5-0 against the Guelph Storm in game one of round one. And then this past Sunday, wow, won in overtime, 5-4. I got to tell you, my heart was in my throat. It was a stressful game. It was a really interesting game. If you're there, you know what I'm talking about. If you watched it, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's all I can really say, but they won. So 5-4, Sting leading the series 2-0 right now. Now, I hope you'll take a moment and say hello in the comments. Of course, we're happy to hear from you, and say hello to our guest that's going to be speaking to us in just a moment. But I just want to give you a quick reminder as well. If you haven't done it yet, you can find me online. Where is it? I've got it here somewhere. But you go to the showlive.live. Here it is up on the screen, right? And you can see, here's where you sign up for the newsletter. And this way you're never going to miss an update. There's other things that I post and do that you won't see here on the show. So sign up for that, and you can see all the different episodes, the current and the previous episode, as well as my new blog that I'm trying to keep updated at least once a week. And you'll find other things like local news and events that are happening here as well. And it also talks about some things that I do with my live streaming services, my Ride of Respect, which is a motorcycle ride through the city coming up, and some other news and sports as well. So I hope you'll take a moment. That's what I'm trying to say. Check that out at the showlive.live. Okay, I'm going to jump right in now to my guest this week, who I've known for, well, it turns out longer than I recalled. So it's been a long time. My friend Leigh Coltman, who talks about his family, his construction and renovation business, and his music, and how he got through COVID, and how a lot of this project he talks about really got started through COVID, the importance of community. And we just had a really nice conversation in his beautiful home here in Sarnia. And he talks about, he left for a little while, but what brought him back to Sarnia, and he's glad that he did. Please take a look at this interview with my friend, Leigh Coltman. The show is made possible in part by its supporting sponsors: Blue Water Power Group of Companies, Joe's Discount Tire, and AskGuy.ca. It's continually getting better to get out in the community and have these one-on-one conversations, I got to tell you. And this gentleman I've known for quite some time, but it's nice to be able to reconnect with you, Leigh Coltman. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm great.
Good to see you, my friend.
You as well, my friend.
It's been a long time that we've known each other, but and you've done so many things, and I'm proud to be talking to you today to share those things. Let's go back almost to the beginning, I like to say. I mean, you were born and raised in Sarnia?
Yep. Yeah, born and raised. Spent my whole life at Lake Road, went to Northern, eventually went off to school, dabbled in a few different colleges.
Yeah, what did you dabble in?
Well, originally I went to be an architect,
okay,
of all things, and then it just wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we dropped out of that, and I went back into machining, millwrighting, tool and die. Did that for a number of years, and I got into the millwrighting. Got into the union, did that for a number of years. With layoffs and job shortages over the last 10 or 15 years, it was inevitable that eventually kind of dried up as well.
Yeah.
And then I was very blessed with a very supportive wife and family, mm-hmm, and a particular set of skills that I ended up starting my own contracting company.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since.
Was that scary to jump into? And there's risk involved, I guess,
of course,
right?
Yeah. It was very scary. Mostly the financial part of it.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do and how am I going to pay the bills kind of thing.
Still got to eat.
Thankfully, I'm a hard worker, and I don't give up. So
yeah,
I just head down, powered through for a few years. And like I said, very understanding wife and family. They didn't see me very much for those years because I was trying to build this company. And Now, 7 years later, the company is thriving. We do from small bathrooms right through to full house renovations and additions. And I've got a crew of 4 guys working for me now, which is phenomenal.
Wow, so you've employed yourself and take care of the family, and you're employing others too.
Yeah.
So was there, I always, not to be negative, but was there ever a time when you were going through that journey where you were like, I'm going to quit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like maybe 1,000 times.
Well, I was going to say, I think anybody who said no would be lying. But,
yeah. There's lots of times. You know, I'd come home at 9 o'clock at night. I'd come home at 2 a.m. some nights. I'd be like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd get up the next morning. My wife would say she's proud of me. And I would just dust off myself, dust off the old shoulders, kind of wash my hands, and just go back to it. Because I knew I didn't really have any other choice at that point. I had to just make this work.
Yeah. But do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, if I could do it all again, right out of high school, I would have gone into this trade.
Yeah.
The gratification, the satisfaction of putting your hands on something and creating a beautiful setting or a beautiful backdrop in someone's home or even your own home.
Yeah.
You know, it just really makes a difference.
I got to tell you, I'm jealous because I'm not that guy. My father was, but I didn't pay attention. I'll change a light bulb. That's about as far as I go.
Sure.
So it's guys like you that I like to call and say, hey, you know, you do that. Because it really is, I don't want to just say a crap, but what you do is really an art.
Some of it is, for sure. I mean, like the tiling, some of the fine millwork that we do, feature walls, even just like wallpaper. You know, little things like that. People don't really think about how difficult that is to line up seams and patterns and busy pieces of paper. But, you know, it takes a bit of a skill.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. A bit of a skill. It takes a lot of skill. Let's be honest here,
Okay,
right?
sure.
Let's go back to school, like public school, high school. What was public school like for you? What were your interests then?
Well, my whole life I was a hockey player. I'm a goalie, and so I spent hours and hours at the rink practicing my craft, trying to get better at, you know, trying to be a pro athlete. I was going to be a pro hockey player someday. In my head, I was going to, you know, make it junior and then eventually make the NHL. But lots of things happen, right? Bad attitudes, political stuff,
right?
You know, just kinds of stuff like that. And it just sort of, as my life sort of unfolded and I matured and saw different opportunities that I could take, it just, that dream sort of died, so to speak. And I mean, I still play hockey. I still coach hockey. I love it.
Okay.
My kids all play hockey now.
Nice. How many kids do you have?
I got 5 altogether.
Wow, you're busy.
Yeah, it's a busy life for sure, but it's a good one.
What about your mom and dad? What were their values and teaching to you? Did they have influence on you a lot?
Oh, absolutely. My mom for sure was a huge influence, and her work ethic. She was very strict growing up. Always had to get homework done on. You know, before dinner, before I could see any of my friends and hang out, before I could even go to hockey practice.
You call that strict?
Well, in today's world,
right? Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, you know, those types of things really sort of defined my work ethic as I got older. And I'll be honest, I wasn't super great at my work ethic. I didn't just kind of turn the clock off and go until it was done, until later in my life, until I started the company. I struggled a little bit, you know, like as we all do, trying to grow up and figure out our path and our passions. And for me, I had lots of passions over the years, but inevitably it took me until I started the company to have that real sense of drive and urgency, for sure. What
about your dad?
My dad, you know what, he's a big supporter of where we've gotten to. Because my parents split up when I was young, my dad and I didn't have the greatest relationship, to be honest, when I was younger. But because he was gone a lot, he did a lot of traveling for work and things like that. So I didn't see him a whole lot when I was younger. But as I've grown up and got older and become a man and a father myself, he's come back in a really positive, strong role in that life. And he's probably one of my best friends now. So like we talk, we hang out all the time.
Great.
You know, talk about the business and just share those business tidbits, those little tips that he runs a business as well. Very different than mine. He's a car salesman. However, you know, there's a lot of transferable trades, I guess, in a business from him to me, and he's passed those along over the years. It's been great.
Yeah, and I can attest. I've known Mom and Dad for a long time, since I was like in public school. Yeah, and they were always great to me. Their work ethics definitely both very high, and their teachings. They impacted me as a young fella too. So
fantastic.
That's great that you can also say that. And now your family, you're busy with 5 children and your wife. And does your wife work?
Yep.
What does she do?
She works in a law firm. She's a law clerk here in town. I mean, she was in the food industry. She was a waitress and bartender for a long time. Yep. Pardon me. And so she transitioning from that life into more of a sit down and
that's a big switch.
Massive change. And she took it with ease and grace, and she works hard now. She's a 9-to-5 kind of girl every day, and she's working really hard, and she loves it.
That's a lot of balance going on there with 5 children, and you work in a company, and she working. How's your calendar? Do you use that every day? Do you write it down? What's the deal there to balance all of that?
Yeah, the calendar's full pretty well every day. Between we've got kids from 11 years old right up to 23. So we've got it all covered, babysitters when we need them, right. Chauffeurs when we need them, and when we don't need them, we're obviously there filling in the blanks. Yeah. And going to hockey practice, going to horseback riding, all these different things. So
horseback riding, do you ride?
No. My youngest daughter does. Oldest daughter used to. Youngest daughter does now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. When you're not working and hanging with family, which I know is most of the time, but you're really into music, right? I am. And when did the music thing start for you?
Well, the first little taste of music that I had was actually in my last year of high school. Okay. A couple of buddies got together, and just kind of as not a joke, but we didn't really take it seriously at first. And it was like, we'll just enter the battle of the bands at high school. Yeah. And we won. And so I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, I really enjoy being on stage, really enjoy that. Yeah. I'm a very shy guy, though, which is weird. Like, I'm very introverted. I actually have a lot of anxiety of social settings. Really? But then I get on stage, and it all goes away. Interesting. It is weird, and it's interesting, but...
so it's kind of like therapy for you in a way.
It really is, yeah. And honestly, over the last few years with COVID and everything, I was able to reconnect with that, the writing. And the poetry, and sort of really connect with those feelings, and sort of start putting pen to paper again, and sort of escalated from there.
And when you write, I'm curious, is it pen and paper, or is it thumb on a phone? Or
no, it's pen and paper.
It's not a keyboard.
I got like 3 notebooks or 4 notebooks, just scribbles and notes all over them, and sometimes it takes months to put different notes together into a format that works for a song. Other songs, I just pen to paper, and all song came out within minutes. So it's kind of, I don't really have a format for it, or
something hits you and you got to do it now before you forget, kind of thing.
I've been like in the middle of doing a tile job at work, and all of a sudden a lyric will come into my head, or something, a cool reference or something like that. Yeah. And I'll stop what I'm doing, clean up, go write it down, or put a note in my phone, or a voice memo or something. Yeah. And then we move on from there. And
what does inspire you, Leigh?
Everything, really. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, my family is probably the biggest inspiration, and I use like their struggles and their triumphs that they go through as inspiration. Like, we have this one song that I wrote. I actually wrote it years ago. It's called "Have You Ever Wanted," and the song's just about trying to be the best version of yourself. And ultimately, like, no one's going to judge me along the way, except for God, right? And then that song actually. With my brother-in-law, we sort of transformed the song. He added a few little lyrics to it, and it turned into a breakup song. And it's one of our best songs that we have out there. But it's funny because it's a breakup song, and so when we finished it and we started rehearsing it, of course, my wife's like, "What's that song about?"
Right.
And I'm like,
what inspired you that day?
I swear, honey, it's not about us. And, I didn't even write the breakup part, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
how's your brother-in-law doing?
he's doing fine. But that's the thing, right? Like, you can write songs about just experiences. They don't have to be personal, right?
Just an observation of somebody
if you
else,
can
even.
connect that emotion and finish the thought, it sort of connects with a lot of other people, or hopefully. And that's the ultimate goal when you're writing a song, I suppose, is to connect to everyone else.
Yeah, nice. Well, music really is a worldwide language, right? It speaks to all of us. Even if you don't understand the words, a lot of times the music itself does that. And you obviously play guitar. You've got a nice collection here behind us. Then you have more, I think, around the room that are hiding behind chairs, maybe? Or?
Yeah, they're all down in the studio downstairs, yeah, for sure.
And so were you self-taught? Did you take lessons?
I've taken a few lessons here and there, but ultimately self-taught. I started playing guitar in college. Yeah. All my buddies that I sort of lived with in residence and houses that we lived in, they all played guitar, and so I was kind of odd man out. So I sang in band, in a band prior to that, but I never played guitar. So then I picked up the guitar, started learning some chords. Next thing you know, I was kind of fumbling through a song, and 21 years later, here we are.
How old are you now?
40.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, that time really does fly, doesn't it?
Sure does.
And some of your songs are about personal experiences?
Of course, there's some about personal experiences. For example, we just released a song on CHOK last week that is all about the struggle that we dealt with through COVID. Not knowing what's next, when it's going to end, when we can go back to work, when we can have friends over, go for dinner, all those types of things.
Just so many unknowns.
And it was a struggle, right? Like for all of us. And so I just kind of started writing some words down, little phrases like, just sit tight. It's going to be okay. Just sit tight. It'll be all right. And then next thing you know, here's a song called Just Sit Tight.
Right.
And it's a love song about just be with us. Just, stay strong and we'll get through this together.
Yeah. Did you have a big struggle yourself through COVID? Did that really affect you?
I did. I didn't, my work, I never was out of work.
Right.
Thankfully for that. Through the midst of all the shutdowns and stuff, I luckily had some vacant homes that I was working in, and the homeowners didn't live there at the time.
Right.
So I could just continue through. So that was good. But my struggle was that I was worn out. I literally didn't have a day off for about 2 years.
Wow.
And I worked every Saturday, every Sunday.
Yeah, and how's that go in family life, right?
Oh, that's tough. Yeah. It was a struggle. And I come home, and then everyone else is struggling for a completely different reason. They're struggling because they're not in school. They have to learn online. They're not at work because their restaurant's not open. We can't hang out with our friends. We're just stuck. And we all went through it. And it was really tough. And for me, it was tough because I was kind of on the outside of it. I couldn't relate to anybody in the house, and they couldn't relate to me. So then we had this, not struggle, but we had to understand that from each other. Yeah. And that was kind of in the midst of that, just sit tight, like it's going to be all right.
And that's how you got through it. A lot of conversations.
A lot of conversations, especially with the kids too, right? Yeah.
How was your day? How was your day has a whole new meaning during COVID, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And there's lots of days you didn't get out of jammies, right? Like even myself, it just is what it is.
Yeah, don't feel like going today, or just not gonna, or so.
But we all made it through.
Yeah, right. We're still here. This too shall pass. We just didn't know. I think, probably, Leigh, we're just like, it's the unknown. Like we selfishly like to be in control of things, and we didn't have any.
No.
for the most part, right?
And I really like control. I mean, I have like an OCD and like a ADHD thing, so I really it's got to be a certain way for my brain to be calm. And so I struggled with that over COVID for sure, especially with family. It was tough.
So how did you get through it?
A lot of singing.
Yeah.
A lot of songs.
The music helped, eh?
It really did. There was a thing on Facebook called the Quarantine Sessions.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so even as a family, we submitted videos to this group, and I would almost weekly put a new video up, and just that reassurance and that connection to people outside of your home. Yeah. It was enough to kind of get me through to that.
That quarantine sessions helped a lot of people. It still exists out there.
I see videos all the time.
I still see videos all the time. I know I've seen a few yours as well.
For sure.
So you keep saying we did this in music-wise, so we're talking about TownHall Revival, is that right?
That's right.
Who's that?
So it's myself and James Moore.
Okay.
So originally the project started during COVID, and it started as just a little side project for myself. Did a kind of a side project for my brother-in-law, and we worked out a deal that he would do some recording for me. Well, in turns, it sort of snowballed, as you say, and the music was there. They were into it. Everybody now, like all of a sudden, it was my brother-in-law and a couple buddies, and now we had a full band. And what started as like a folk sort of singer-songwriter project turned into a full-on rock project.
Oh, okay.
We started recording. We started doing music videos.
Folk to rock.
Yeah, it was like I put the acoustic down. I bought the electric.
Right.
And I was kind of out of my comfort zone, but it was fun. I had a lot of fun. And honestly, the songwriting that I write is folk. It's country. It's more singer-songwriter. And it was very different than the music part of the song.
Yeah.
So we had these two elements that didn't really work together. And it was a conversation that we had together, and it was like, it's not really working. I want this, and you guys want that. And so we just went our separate ways. Those guys have the Born Riot now, which is, they're a huge, awesome band in town.
They are great.
They're doing really good work and releasing awesome songs. And then, so I took my time, and I stayed solo for a little while. And then James kind of came into my life through a mutual friend. And he played upright bass. He sang. Okay, now we're talking. This is more the country folk vibe that I'm into.
Synergy happens someday.
And the songs and the type of music we listened to just driving around was the same. We had very similar family lives, very similar interest in general. So it just really fast kind of all worked out with him. Just clicked really well. And so we started writing again, the two of us. We started putting these songs back together in more of the folk country way, and now we've got 3 songs up on Spotify, and
nice.
We're working on a music video next month, and we got a couple more songs coming out. James is getting married next a couple weeks from now, and we got a really cool summer of awesome shows planned. So it's gonna be good.
What's the goal with your music? Like and like, there's so many directions a person can go. Like someone will go, I want to do this full time,
right?
Or that'd be nice, but I'd really be okay with it. What is the goal for you?
Well, ultimately, because of my company and my family, I'm not really looking to go on tour or sign a record deal and be a full-time musician, although that'd be pretty awesome if that happened. For one, it's just about, on one hand, for me, it's about showing my kids and my wife that, you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. And because of COVID and all that, a lot of that motivation was lost.
Right.
So as a dad, as the man of the house, and I'm kind of an old school mentality that way, where like my job is to work, my job is to provide, my job is to love. And if I can do all those things to the best of my ability and show my kids how to achieve their goals through my actions, I'm not really good with words necessarily. I tend to over talk. I tend to over explain things, and then I find deer in headlights. Right. So
yeah, I hear you.
I just kind of work. I work better by just watch, see what I'm doing, see the amount of effort it takes to achieve this, and it's not impossible. You can do it too. And so that's kind of the ultimate goal. Musically, though, I'd like to get some songs out there. I feel like they're good songs. I feel like people would really connect to them. Ultimately, instead of going down and touring, instead of going down and getting record deals and things like that, I think I'd like to try to put songs out for like television or movies. Try to submit them to, be cool to sit there and watch Yellowstone or something. Have your country song floating by while you're out driving away into the sunset. That'd be pretty cool,
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about just bucket list stuff. And now I'm 40. I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not. I've got 5 kids. I'm really. I don't want to say stuck because I don't mean stuck, but I'm definitely not in a position where I can just be like, okay, load up the trailer.
Yeah,
we're
see
going
you
on
later.
tour for a
Yeah,
month,
no,
you
life's
know?
different than college.
For sure.
For sure.
So
yeah, responsibility and all that.
that's all it is for me is just kind of having fun, doing the best I can with, this is my hobby, we'll call it. Right?
Okay.
So my hobby, I always do things to the best of my ability. So my hobby is the same as my job, right? Like I'm gonna work hard, record it to the best of my ability. So we went out to Mike Mackay's
he's great. He's
in
great.
Brights Grove,
Yeah.
and he recorded everything and produced it. Like I said, and I think it can compete right there with those other guys that are actually touring and signed to major labels.
Right.
So
criticism often comes along in the music world. Are you good at taking that?
who is though?
Are you better at it than you used to be?
100%.
Okay.
100% better at it. And I mean, criticism always is someone's opinion at the end of the day, right? So you have to take all criticisms with a grain of salt, whether you're talking about your parenting style, the work you do in your business, or your music.
Right.
At least that's the way I view it.
I agree.
And no one's going to think you're perfect any day of the week, no matter what you're talking about. So I have to say, you know what? Like I'm not trying to appeal to millions of people. If I find one fan at a show that goes, wow, that was an awesome song or a really good set, that's it for me. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do your kids see in this? They see Dad playing and singing and recording. They think it's cool.
I think so. They definitely like to come to watch shows.
Yeah.
We try to play a good, well-rounded shows. Like we have some 19+ shows ticketed, and then some all ages shows that everyone can come to. And they definitely like coming. My two daughters, my youngest daughters, they really, it's like they come and watch and they're like in awe. Like they're watching a celebrity. It looks like in their faces what they're looking back.
Cool.
But I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, I just want to inspire them to go after their dreams, whatever those might be. And, as a parent, it's hard because I find myself sometimes you want to push, right? You want to push a kid. You see he's got talent or she's got talent in this. You want to drive them and push them forward into that to their best, highest caliber.
Yeah. But
sometimes that's not what they want. And so, like, as a dad,
sometimes you got to back off.
You got to say, okay, it's your journey.
Even though you know better.
That's right. My mom knew better too, but I took some random
Did
roads
you listen?
along the way.
Right.
But, you get to the end of it and you're like, yeah, you know what? She was right. Damn it.
Yeah, right. Darn it all, like, way to go, Mom.
So at the end of the day, like, if they just go, you know what? Dad was cool. He was a cool dad. He did these cool things. And I mean, like, my grandpa played drums. He was in a band back in the 50s, like the big bands, with the trumpets and the full strings, cool. and he was the drummer in the back, just keeping time, right? And I actually have his drum kit downstairs, 75-year-old drum kit.
Nice.
Yeah. But so, like as a kid and a grandkid growing up, I always thought that was so cool. And then now I'm getting the chance to do it myself. At the end of the day, if my kids can sort of show their grandkids or great grandkids, hey, this is what great grandpa used to do, that's good enough for me, kind of thing.
That's great history there too, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else in your family play music?
They all sort of have a bit of talent in it. None of them yet seem very driven to go after it, which is okay. But like my oldest, she can self-teach herself any kind of piano.
Oh no.
She can sit down with a book in front of her and just learn it. So like, if she took any kind of time or spent any kind of extracurricular time with that, I mean, she could be phenomenal.
Yeah.
One of my boys was really into hip hop, and so he started putting together beats, and like I accidentally found these beats one day on the computer, and I'm like, holy cow, these are unreal.
Right.
And he was very embarrassed about it, and so
like the poet doesn't want to share.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, like I wish I hadn't found them now, because like he's kind of pulling back with it, and then Then my next
didn't mean to intrude, right?
Yeah, like and I mean, I'm sure he'll get back into it at some point, but he's thinking about colleges and things like that now. Right. So he's got other things on his mind and
priorities,
girlfriend.
Yeah.
And, so he's busy and he works and all these things. So he'll get back into it when he's ready. And the youngest two, my boy, he's like really like he's very interested in it, but he's very self-conscious, very hesitant to try. He doesn't like trying new things until he's tried new things. Right. He likes to be kind of good at something before he gives it a real honest shot. Right. And honestly, as we know with music, you're terrible at the start.
Well, you have to be, really. You kind of have to. I always say you got to have an episode 1. You got to have the first chapter, however you want to word that, right? You got to have your first song. And it's okay if you look back 10 years later and go, boy, did that ever suck. Right?
Oh man,
do you have one of those?
Oh
yeah,
I got a couple, man. I got a book over there with some songs I wrote 10 years ago, and I'm like, nobody has ever seen these.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so I think he'll get into it. He's more of. So we did a song on quarantine sessions actually with the whole family. Mm-hmm. Everyone had a role. Wife played piano, the other kids sang, and he played the cajon. So he actually kept perfect time on this drum the whole song. Didn't realize he was doing that, but I realized it. And so eventually we'll start getting into drums, I think, with him and see how that goes. But with my youngest daughter, she's taken piano, excelled immediately. Then she took ukulele, excelled immediately, but she doesn't have the interest. She can't. She's got my ADD.
There you go.
So she has a hard time keeping that concentration, right? So again, she was young. She was 6 and 8 years old when she was doing those things. So I'm sure as she gets older and life kind of settles down a bit more after COVID, and we get a couple of years of routine back in, I think we'll be back into it.
Yeah. So much going on there with you and your family. And how does your wife keep up with all of this?
Well, she honestly is the glue that holds it all together. Yeah. We all rely on her for a lot of things, keeping us organized, keeping us on time for appointments, just keeping the whole level of the house calm.
Right. Not too high, not too low, right?
Yeah. With everything going on, like we got one guy going to college or university, another one's living on her own, the other two or one's in high school, the other ones are just kind of coming up into the older grades of public school. So there's a lot of different stuff, I guess, like different stresses that each of them go through that I either have expertise in or she does, and then we got to figure out how to navigate it through. And
there's a lot of different priority levels going on there.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it funny how I always refer to like getting your driver's license. In my day, it was when you were 15, you couldn't wait to be 16 because that's all that mattered was getting that driver's license. Right. Now there's days like I don't even want to drive. Right.
100%.
So
for sure.
So what's the priority for you? I mean, obviously family, and then your employment, your construction company, I should say, and then the music. What's next with the music? Let's get back to that in TownHall Revival.
So TownHall Revival, like I said, we've got a few songs out now.
Yeah.
James is getting married, and then once he's back from his honeymoon, we have another song, our 4th song, come out. And then we've got some big shows this summer. We've got June Classic, we've got the Block Party.
Oh, nice.
And then we're hopefully working on some other things like Beats on the Street, trying to talk to Nelly about that and kind of work my way into a few.
You do the Duke Cruise thing?
I'd love to. I've never done it. I've thought about it a couple of years. I think if I ever do have the opportunity, it will be with TownHall.
Yeah. Just do it, man. It's so much fun.
I've heard it's an absolute blast.
Yeah. Sure can be, especially if you get a beautiful day. And honest to goodness, even if it rains, you're on the Duke, man. It's just where are you going to go? You're going to have a great time.
Exactly.
And TownHall Revival. So Mike Mackay's was produced all of that.
Yep.
And then you're going to get past this summer, and then
so we've got an album coming out sort of towards the end of the summer. We should have our full album done, and we're, like I said, we're recording as we speak now, and then that'll be done hopefully end of the summer. Next year, I mean, honestly, who knows? Like, ideally for me, like I said, because of where I am in life and my age and all those things, I'm more of like, I'd like to play less shows and better quality ones. So we're going to try to go out of town, maybe, the Horseshoe Tavern, types of stuff.
Could you, I know you said you didn't, sorry to interrupt, but you said, I don't want to go on tour, but could you see like maybe a 4 to 6 week tour, or is that too long? Or a mini tour, I guess is what I'd try to say.
Yeah. So I think realistically, because of the business and family and things like that, it's more of like we do like a Thursday to Sunday tour.
Right. Okay.
I'll come home, do the next Thursday to Sunday, come home. We've talked about doing some winery tours or brewery tours, or theater tours, which would be kind of, like I said, 3 or 4 or 5 shows in a row, take a Thursday, Friday, or a Thursday, Monday off work, and then go from there. Yeah.
It sounds like it'd be a whole lot of fun.
I think it would be a lot of fun. Like I said, especially the winery tours. There's some really beautiful places around Southern Ontario that we'd like to travel to and play for. And like, you know, the breweries, they're popping up all over the place.
No kidding, right?
You really could do a full-on tour just of breweries if you really wanted to, for sure.
Well, you have to keep us posted on that for sure. Let's switch gears a little bit. You've lived in Sarnia all your life, as I have too. I'm always curious, what kept you here?
Well, I mean, I did leave for a little bit. I went to school in Toronto, and then I lived in London for about 5 years. St. Thomas, I went to Fanshawe at St. Thomas campus for about 1.5 years. So I've done a little bit of living outside of the city, but what brought me back was the community. What brought me back was the music. What brought me back was my family.
We really are a hub here for music. Would you agree with that?
It's a phenomenal city for music.
Yeah.
Like between the old Art Walk days to the old Bayfest days to now we've got Border Fest and Revelry, and then we've got like places like Mods popping up, which is a really cool place to play.
I have yet to get to one of those open mic. Trust me, I look every week and then I'm like, oh, I can't go. And
we played there about a month ago. And it was one of our favorite shows we played. Not a huge place. The sound is phenomenal. The beers are great. They've got like, I don't know, 40 or 50 different kinds of beers. Nothing on tap. It's all tall boys. But very original place to play. And they really love music. So like the whole thing.
They've been a great promoter for the music scene.
Exactly, right? Sure. So they really, really care about that.
As is many, I mean, like Ups and Downs is a super place. And Patty's and and there's, what are they calling it? Sarnia Nights or the first or third
the
Thursday?
Sarnia Indie Nights.
Right.
I Collide there,
So just a great, always has been for me, as long as I can remember from the time I turned about 19, it always really has been. And I don't know what it is, if it's the border or just surrounding area, but it just seems like everybody collects here. Yeah,
like, I mean, we're stuck between Detroit and Toronto, right? Yeah. So like it's sort of a natural highway for all big bands to come through. And with all the blue collar guys in town, there's just a love of music. I find like, for some reason, like blue collar guys really love music. I mean, sort of white collar guys too, but I find, especially in this town, right? Like it's a blue collar town. So you go and play a show, it's all about that homegrown feel and relatability, and a lot of people in this town can relate to that country music, that folk stuff that we do. So that's kind of where we find our sweet spot.
How's our city doing? I don't want to get deep into politics, but like it is. I mean, you live here, your family, like you must have some interest in the direction of our city. For sure.
I think there's always room for improvement. I mean, but I couldn't imagine having to do that job. So
I'm with you.
I mean, I could sit here and scrutinize and say, well, you could have done this better or that better, but I mean, who can do it properly anyways? I mean, right up to the top of the chain in any government, it's difficult to navigate that, I can imagine. So, especially over the last few years, like, what are you supposed to do, right? There's no rule books, no playbook of how to do this.
Out, right?
We've all got our criticisms and our positives that we think about this guy or that person or this girl or that. And honestly, like, as long as I don't have to do it, I'm pretty happy. Like, I think that's kind of the best encapsulating thing I can think of to say on that topic, honestly, without getting too into specific topics.
We live in a good city.
It's a great city.
Right. I think you're right. It's we do that a lot. We go, well, why didn't they do that? Or why didn't they face that building that way? Or why didn't, like, come on, like, how do we try not to put our foot in it, right?
That's right. I mean, like, and being in a, because I'm such a kind of a control freak with my company and music and things like that, I'm like, there's times for sure that I'm like, I could probably have done that better. But could I have? Probably not. Who knows what the stresses they had to deal with, or who was breathing down their neck to make that happen, or I mean, there's just so many
deadlines and everything. Yeah,
so many things to take into account for that sort of situation. Like, it's just not my thing.
Yeah. Are you going to stay here for a long while? Do you think? You think this is the place?
I think so. I mean, unless something catastrophic were to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we sort of joked during COVID that we'd like to go somewhere where we could walk around a little bit. But, but I mean, you do that, and I mean, then what? You got no family, no friends. You got to fly somewhere to see those types of people that you love. And I mean, for me, I can get anywhere in the city in about 10, 15 minutes.
No kidding. Hitting every red light at the busiest time.
During rush hour,
rush hour? What's that?
Driving down Vital Street or Brock Street.
Vital and Brock are our rush hours at 4 o'clock, right? When everybody's trying to get home.
But I mean, for me, this is home. It's always felt like home.
Yeah.
I tried the big city. Toronto was not for me.
Yeah.
I tried even London. It's a small town city with a big city atmosphere, and the traffic's horrible.
Right.
I hate London for that reason.
My wife would agree with you on that. She used to live in London.
Yeah, but I mean, London's only an hour away, right? Toronto's only 3 hours away. So
Detroit's
Windsor, an hour and a half. Windsor, an hour and a half. So like, we're close to all of the cool stuff, and I don't have to live in any of that nonsense. I can live here, nice house, nice neighborhood, enjoy my life. It's quiet.
Yeah, you got a nice home here, nice area, respectable, all that sort of stuff. You talked about community earlier. That was one of the things that really attracted you to coming back and then staying in Sarnia. What do you or your family do things to give back in the community or help, or what's your community relations, I guess?
Well, I'll be honest, we don't do a whole lot. We try to take part in a lot of the events that happen.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing.
But we don't spearhead really anything. Years ago, I used to put together a few different benefit shows for the church I went to at the time. Did a lot of mission work overseas, so we would do fundraisers for that. But honestly, other than that, I don't really spearhead anything anymore. I can't. I have too much on my plate.
Yeah, but you participate when you
sure.
Yeah, that's the same thing as spearheading, in my opinion. I mean, you have to kind of look after yourself first.
That's right.
And, but community is important to you because it attaches to family.
It does, and I mean, there's so many people like Billy Joe, like Ian Fader. These guys, these people that they take all their efforts and pour it into the community. I mean, my hat goes off to them because I couldn't imagine the amount of work that would take.
Right.
I mean, to pull off a concert like Revelry, for example.
Yeah.
Bringing in these massive bands, the advertising, the tickets,
the risk,
the security, the risk.
Just that alone.
Like, holy cow, can you even imagine trying to pull that off? Like, I couldn't.
Yeah.
But like I said, we try to at least take part in it, show our support to all those types of things. And, it's sort of the best we can do, unfortunately. Right. I wish we could do more, but.
Are you ever going to write a book?
You know what? You're not the first person to ask me that question. With all
I think everybody should write a book, but
all the crazy things that have gone on in my life, I do have some stories. Like even my kids, as they're going through different times in their life, I'm like, I remember when I was 13 and I did this weird thing and I thought I was going to die.
Right.
And they're like, "Whoa, what?"
Right.
We all have a big laugh.
Like,
that's crazy. Died. What is he doing?
Yeah.
And between that and losing jobs, union jobs and things like that, and losing my family at one point, and finding a new one with my wife now, and the blended family that we have, I think it would actually make a pretty good book. Yeah. But I don't know if anyone would read it.
Yeah, I would. No, I think I'm working on one too, but cool. I think everybody should read a book. And when we say book, like, it doesn't have to be, this thick and hardcover and all that stuff. It can be. A friend of mine wrote 60 pages, 75 pages of a book, and it was the most amazing story. And I've known him for 30 years, and I was like, I don't remember that. I didn't know that. And I was around you then, so that kind of thing. So I would buy your book.
Well, you know what? It's funny. So my mom actually, a couple of years ago, my sister-in-law bought her this book for Christmas.
Okay.
And the idea of the book was every day it would ask you something.
Right.
Whether it was just a simple question like, what's your favorite color?
Mm-hmm.
Or what's the most defining moment in your entire life, and she's 74 years old.
Yeah.
And she was a professional skater, and she has a whole life of.
She should write a book.
She is.
Come on, Carol.
She is apparently writing a book, and the whole idea of the book is so that we can read it as children, grandchildren, and know the life that she lived, because you don't. There's lots of those stories that you don't tell your kids, and then by the time they're old enough, it's sort of too late to tell them.
Right.
And, the crazy experiences and the things you shouldn't have done, but you did anyways.
Right. We've all got those.
Right. And so I think something like that would be interesting to do.
Yeah.
I overshare with my kids a little bit in terms of stories or shenanigans I got up to, because I've gotten up to a few.
Right. I'm with you.
Oh, man. So, I think that would be interesting for the kids to be able to hear that. There's so many things I wish I'd known about my own grandparents and my own parents, for that matter. Thankfully, my parents are still here. I can have those conversations.
Yeah.
But like my grandpa, for example, I would love to be able to sit and talk to him.
Yeah.
But when I was actually interested in talking to him, he was already in a nursing home and was already sort of fading away to that unfortunate ending. And so, those are just things that you unfortunately miss out on, and I don't want my kids to miss out on that. So that's why I put it out all on the table, and we have these crazy conversations, and I let them watch me try to build an empire with my company and try to build a music career with my music, and just sort of lead by example. As
Journals are a good idea, right?
Got a million of those for sure.
We say that, and I've got to get back to. My dad had a little black book before we had these phones and things, and he wrote in it every day what he did or didn't do.
Very cool.
Watch TV, that's all, whatever. And I'd love to get my hands on those books, right? But
that'd be cool.
I think it's important to be able to share, especially generation to generation. So much changes, but so much is actually the same.
Oh,
how we live, how we think, really how we think. I think a lot of it too is good. I can't thank you enough for your time. I've been looking forward to this, and you reached out to me, and you've been popping into my brain now and then, and I was like, I gotta get I wonder how he's doing, and then all of a sudden, I believe in the laws of the universe.
Absolutely.
Because all of a sudden, then you just boom, there you were, and I went. I had a moment. I was like, wow, that just happened, right? And TownHall Revival, congratulations to that and everything you're doing and your company. I've been watching from afar, just so you know, and I've seen you grow, and I'm like, wow, look at him go. That's just awesome. So good for you. I really appreciate your time. And we're going to share the links to TownHall Revival, and someday maybe a link to the book. You never know, right? Thanks again, Leigh. Really appreciate you. Thanks to all of you for watching. Be sure to click on TownHall Revival. Check them out and see some of their upcoming shows. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
It was certainly great to catch up with Leigh Coltman. Thank you so much, Leigh. And I meant that I've known his mother and father for many, many years. They had a huge and positive impact on my life when I was a younger teen. And Leigh, you've actually had an impact on me by sharing your story. And I know Leigh and his family they've just got a great journey ahead of them. And I'm looking forward to the next time we can catch up. Leigh, thank you so much. Make sure you check out the links to TownHall Revival and everything else Leigh's doing. We'll put that in the description. But as always, that's all the time I got for you this week, everybody. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I will see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.